Back in June, we saw the Arcane Subclasses UA, and in that document, we got the Tattooed Warrior Monk be brought forward into 5th edition. But wow, was it a massive disappointment. The subclass itself was essentially designed in a DIY style, allowing players to pick from a small subset of features at each level. On a conceptual level, this is actually pretty cool, as it allowed for the subclass to feel unique and different, not just between players, but even between sessions, since you'd be able to swap out tattoos at designated intervals. So while the subclass was pretty cool at a base design level, the actual execution of that design was a massive flop, with virtually every option from each of the various tattoos feeling almost worthless. It needed a serious update if it was going to have any relevancy at all. Well, now it's mid-September and we have our first look at the revised Arcane subclasses, and once again we have a new Tattooed Warrior Monk, so the question is, does it still totally suck? Let's find out. Before we do though, I am getting so close to hitting 20,000 subscribers, and I'm hoping to do it by September 27th to make it less than 1 year to get from 10k to 20k, which would be absolutely mind-blowing to me. So if you'd like to help me out on this journey, subscribing to the channel and clicking the like button while you're there goes such a long way to helping out. Thank you so much. First up at level 3 is the Magic Tattoo feature, which, just like last time, is not so much a feature as it is a description of how the rest of the features work. Unfortunately, nothing has changed here, with us still only being able to swap one tattoo at a time. Not one from each list, just one in total. And that tattoo that you are swapping must be with another tattoo from the same list, which, to be fair, does make sense, since otherwise you could have all of your tattoos be from level 6, 11, or 17 and not actually have a level 3 feature, so I get it from that aspect at least. I'm not saying that we should necessarily be able to swap every tattoo at will or something like that, but for a subclass that is seemingly entirely based around flexibility and having the right tool and peak customization, this just falls a bit flat. It's not the end of the world or anything, it just would have been a nice quality of life update. Moving on at level 3, we get to see what our first tattoo looks like, beginning with the Beast tattoos, of which we get to choose 2. The first and most obvious thing here to notice is that they've cut the available options down from 7 to 5, with Chameleon and Spider being removed. The first option is Bat. This gives us the Dancing Light cantrip and provides blind sight up to 10 feet. This is significantly better than the old version, which only provided blind sight if we used Patient Defense or Step of the Wind, and only lasted for 1 minute. This is just an always-on 10 feet of blind sight, which is legitimately very good, considering the blind fighting style also only provides that same 10 feet of blind sight. This is a great improvement. Next up is Butterfly, which gives us the Light cantrip and makes it so that when we make a high jump, we can use our dexterity rather than our strength to calculate the distance that we jump. This is super niche. I know someone is going to tell me that they're always making high jumps, but this is definitely not a every session type of thing. Or maybe it's a bit more self-selecting than that, and the people who play monks or this subclass are much more apt to look for opportunities to make high jumps. I honestly don't know. In a sense, it helps reduce the impact of monks with their constant struggle with being so multi-ability dependent, but I'm just not sure that this is moving the needle all that much. Honestly, I prefer the old version, which allowed silent damage to be cast for 1 focus point. Moving on to Crane, here we get the Guidance cantrip, and when we miss a creature with an attack granted by Flurry of Blows, we get advantage on our next attack roll against that same creature before the end of our next turn. This is a straight up improvement over the old version, and a pretty significant one at that. One of the comments I made about it in the last version was that the value is incredibly inconsistent, since because we don't know when the missed attack is going to occur, it makes it hard to use. If we missed with our last attack, we get no value from it. Now they have directly addressed that, since it carries through until the end of our next turn. And not only that, it is also no longer restricted to attacks made with Flurry of Blows. So say we miss our last attack and then on our next turn we didn't lead with Flurry, we still get the benefit. Also, Guidance is a pretty great cantrip. With Crane, they just went ahead and made the best option even better. Horse provides us with the Message cantrip, and when we spend 1 focus point to use Step of the Wind, our speed increases by 10 feet until the start of our next turn. This is kind of a weird change over the old version. Prior, it allowed us to spend 1 focus point to cast Longstrider. In a strict power sense, that one was better, since getting a 10-foot movement speed increase that lasted for an hour is always great, but it does cost an action, and since monks already had pretty good movement speed, you were unlikely to be casting this during combat. But you could easily cast it before combat begins, especially since it lasts for an hour. Now it's more of an incidental thing. Step of the Wind is likely something that you're going to use at some point, though you do need to spend the focus point to get both the dash and disengage options to be able to use this, and then when you do, you get a bonus 10 feet of movement. The thing is, if I'm using Step of the Wind, I'm already dashing, and because I'm a monk, that's probably like 80 feet of movement. I'm just not sure whether another 10 is going to be all that impactful at this point. Message is pretty great though. And finally, for the beast tattoos, we get Tortoise, which gives us the Spare the Dying cantrip, and when we spend 1 focus point to use Patient Defense, we get a +1 to our AC until the start of our next turn. Compared to the old version, this is essentially trading an average of 9 temporary hit points for the cost of 1 focus point for +1 AC. But we're doing that when we're already giving attackers disadvantage against us. This is still probably a bit better than the old one, it just makes it a bit harder to hit. It feels okay. It's probably more of a side grade than anything else. I'll be honest, I'm still feeling pretty underwhelmed here. Crane is good, Tortoise and Bat are okay, but I'm still just not feeling this. I guess the question is really, are picking 2 of these tattoos equal to the 2 or sometimes even 3 features that other classes get when they get their subclass at level 3? And when you phrase the question that way, I don't think it's even close. Anyway, let's see what else is going on. At level 6, we get the Celestial tattoo feature. We can choose 1 of these, and again, our options have been trimmed down from 4 to 3, with Crescent Moon being removed. All 3 of these features function the same, just with some slight differences, so we'll cover them all at the same time. With each of these tattoos, whenever we take a specific type of action, we can then expend 1 focus point to roll our martial arts die and gain a bonus on that check. With Comet, we get to add to the Search action, with Eclipse, we get to add to our Dexterity Stealth check, and with Sunburst, we get to add to our Study action. This, again, is just so underwhelming. For a bit of context, Druids that pick Magician at level 1, and Clerics that pick Thaumaturge also at level 1, are getting a passive bonus to 2 of these checks without needing to spend anything. Again, at level 1. And well, yes, again, I know this is different, and getting to roll our martial arts die does provide the potential for high rolling and getting a value way higher than your wisdom modifier. It still costs a fairly valuable resource to do so, and you can totally just low roll it too. At least at the time that you get the feature, your die is a D8, which helps soften the blow a bit though. Honestly, I don't think this should even be a choice. You should just get all 3. That would be so much better, and I don't even think it would be broken either. If you still wanted it to be a choice, then I think it should just be free and not cost a focus point to use it. There you go, wizards. I'll wait for my check in the mail. I don't have much else to say about the Celestial tattoo. Maybe if it was at level 3, it could be good, but otherwise, this is just not a good feature. Moving on to level 11, we have the Nature tattoo. In my previous video, I said that they should have scrapped this one entirely and dropped the monster tattoos down to level 11, but it looks like they didn't do that. So let's see what they actually did do instead. Spoilers, it's not good. Again, with the Nature tattoo, we've had our options cut from 3 to 2, now with just the Sea Storm tattoo and the Volcano tattoo. Again, these work the same as each other, just with some slight differences. With the Sea Storm, we get resistance to 1 of cold, lightning, or thunder damage, and we can change our selection whenever we long rest or use Uncanny Metabolism. And Volcano gives us resistance to 1 of fire, poison, or acid, and again, we can change our selection at that same interval. I cannot emphasize this enough though, it is 1 of the resistances, not all 3. Now, on the bright side, at least it no longer costs 3 focus points to get the resistance like it did before, but at least we then also got advantage on some saving throws. The thing that is a bit wild here though, is that a single resistance feature are very common features at way lower levels. We see plenty of resistance features coming in at around level 6. Fiendish Resilience is a single resistance that arrives later, coming online at level 10, but offers the flexibility of being able to select any damage type with the exception of Force, whereas the Nature tattoo only lets you choose 1 type from an already very small subset of the damage types. At and around level 11, we are seeing way more multi-resistance abilities. Sea Druids with Stormborn get the entire benefit of the Sea Storm tattoo as they get resistance to all of cold, thunder, and lightning damage, and they get a flight speed, and it comes online 1 level earlier. I really just don't understand this. My only thought is that they are factoring in the ability to choose the tattoo into the power budget for the feature, but they are weighting that flexibility way too heavily. As we discussed earlier, changing tattoos entirely is hard since you can only do it 1 at a time and at a long rest, and even cycling between the different types offered with the Nature tattoo, you're only getting 1 of 3 resistances at a time. This is honestly the only thing I can think of. They've weighed the ability to cycle so aggressively that the actual power of what you were cycling between has been completely left to flounder. Please, someone tell me I'm missing something here because I really don't know. I truly, from the bottom of my heart, want to be wrong about this. I don't get it. Alright, finally, let's move on to our level 17 feature, the Monster Tattoo. We still get 4 options this time, though they change what some of them are. Again, we only get to pick one of the tattoos. First up is the Beholder Tattoo, which gives us a fly speed equal to our speed for 10 minutes for the cost of 1 focus point. This is way better than it was in the previous version. Now, however, the ability to cast Counterspell has been removed. Instead, for the cost of 1 focus point, we can fire 4 eye rays at a target within 120 feet. On a hit, each ray deals damage equal to 1 roll of our martial arts die, so a d12 plus our wisdom modifier, likely +4, maybe +5. This is okay. It gives a nice ranged option for monks to have, and for a reasonable cost. The only major downside here is that you cannot split the eye rays up. All 4 must be directed at one single target. Eldritch Blast is still coming out on top. Again, this is fine. I'm not entirely convinced it feels capstone worthy, but it's okay. Next is the Chromatic Dragon Tattoo, which did not exist in the previous version at all. With it, when we take the attack action on our turn, we can spend 1 focus point to replace one of our attacks with a 30-foot cone breath weapon. The damage type can be our choice of acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. Each creature in the area is then subjected to a dexterity saving throw, and on a failed save, they take damage equal to 2 rolls of our martial arts die plus our wisdom modifier. So this probably makes it like 2d12 plus 5. On a successful save, they take half as much damage. Generally speaking, dexterity is a reasonable save to target, and 30 feet is a pretty large area, but still, we're looking at an average of like 19 damage on a failed save, assuming you have a +5 wisdom and no creatures are resistant to the chosen type. Granted, yes, we still do have our other attacks, but again, it just feels a bit underwhelming. It's not terrible, it's probably the best one here, it's fine, it's just not blowing my mind. Next up is Displacer Beast, which is almost identical to the previous version, they just made it a bit cheaper. This time, when we expend a focus point on Flurry of Blows or Step of the Wind, we can spend 1 focus point to cast Mirror Image as part of the same bonus action. I want to be clear that in isolation, this ability is fine, good even. But if I presented this to someone with the level requirement removed, there's roughly a 0% chance that anyone is dropping this anywhere close to level 17. This is like a level 3 ability, maybe 5 hard max. Mirror Image is a good spell, don't get me wrong. But at level 17, to have my capstone be, I need to do something and then spend a resource to just get a level 2 spell, I'm gonna be a bit sad about that. And our final option is Troll. This lets us, if we are bloodied, to recover an amount of hit points equal to 5 plus our wisdom modifier, so we're looking at like 9 or 10. Also, any severed body part regrows after a long rest, which I suppose is kind of cool if not incredibly niche. I will give them credit for actually using the bloodied condition in something, it is nice to see that, and a bit of passive healing is okay. It's just that, again, I don't know if this is what really makes up a level 17 feature. Overall, I'm just a bit lost. I don't know what they're doing with the Tattooed Warrior Monk. I love the concept of this DIY class that has all these magical abilities infused in their body markings. It's just so cool, and I want to love it. But these features are just so underwhelming and accomplish things that basically every other class can do earlier and better. Most of the options, particularly the beast tattoos, are distinctly an improvement. I will give them that, but I'm just struggling so hard to actually see the vision for this subclass. Anyway, let me know your thoughts about the revised Tattooed Warrior Monk in the comments. Check out some of my other D&D videos, but otherwise, take care.